Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Beth Edwards with HFM Cornerstone, and I'm very happy to have with me today Tony Martinez with AuditPRO, Compliance Rounding and Asset Inspection Technology, as well as Mark Schwartz with the University of Rochester. Mark implemented AuditPRO a little over 5 years ago in 2017. Initially for environment of care inspections, and that eventually started to involve asset inspections as well. Through the leveraging of the technology, Mark has been able to involve more people within the organization, as well as to dig deeper into compliance issues. Without further ado, I will let Tony take over and lead this webinar. Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Beth. Hi, everyone. Again, thanks for joining us. So what we'll do here in the next 30 minutes or so is Mark and I will have a back and forth discussion about what they do there at the University of Rochester, not only at the medical center, but also their off-site locations and how they use the technology for their AOC rounding and their asset compliance inspections. And then I'll also show you a little bit of the tool so you can get a better appreciation for what the tool can do. So Mark, thanks for joining us and thanks for spending the time.
Tony, glad to be here.
Absolutely. So let's do this. Before we jump into the questions, just give folks a little idea of the medical center, the size and your offsites and so forth. So we just kind of get everyone on the same page so they can understand the complexity and the size of the challenges that you and your team face.
Sure. The University of Rochester Medical Center is approximately 4.5 million square foot on the main campus, comprised of research, School of Medicine and Dentistry, inpatient healthcare, outpatient healthcare. A children's hospital is also attached, as well as a cancer center. So I have a lot of different modalities, and there's a lot more than that, but those are the main anchor points. We also have over 400 offsites that we also are responsible for. Over 110 or so are Article 28, which means they're hospital extension clinics subject to survey by the Joint Commission. So we have a lot of real estate. We have a lot going on.
Exactly. No, it's a big challenge. So let's focus right now on the medical center and the EOC rounds. So prior to implementing AuditPRO, you all were definitely still doing EOC rounds. So can you talk a little bit about what that process looked like, what some of the challenges were, and how you use the technology to help you overcome those challenges and improve the overall rounding process?
Sure. Probably not unlike a lot of folks. Our EOC rounding originally started out, in our instance, we had volunteers. We had as many as 9 volunteers because of our square footage, and we had a lot of real estate to cover. It was done on paper. It was generally done in what I would call verticals, so people with certain specialties. So infection prevention would probably only look primarily at infection prevention type stuff, and public safety would only do their piece, and then facilities would do their piece, and so on. So it was many people to cover the various disciplines within the environment of care. And there was obviously some cross training there, and people working together would pick up on other aspects of people's skill sets. But it was always challenging because it was recorded on paper, and then the paper went back to a central location, and then somebody had to compile that paper and compile a report, and then push that report out again manually, item by item, of could be 100 things that were identified to the owner or a recipient of a work order, or service provider, that type of thing. So there were many, many steps to it. And one of the big problems we had was, a piece of paper gets lost, then that record gets lost, or that piece of paper turns up, a week later or 2 weeks later, and you've lost that time in trying to finalize that corrective. So many moving parts. That was really the challenge. And one of the things that we're looking for is a way to automate this process. And that's when we got looking at AuditPRO and began to really embrace AuditPRO and bring it in internally to the organization, which reduced the amount of staffing. It didn't create such a siloed approach to this because AuditPRO really looks across the platforms and it really pushes out what you need to be looking for. Even though I may not be a infection control or infection preventionist per se, AuditPRO would push the information out that I needed to know, and I could look and say, yes, we're compliant, or no, we're not.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember in discussions that we had, you liked the ability to get more people involved in the process, so it wasn't as burdensome on just a handful of folks. Because as you said, it's that army of volunteers, right? So getting more folks involved just helps spread the burden and the workload across.
Yeah, the real key here was, 9 volunteers, over time became 6, became 5, became 4, because they all have their own full-time jobs. And, healthcare is all over the world has become more challenging for lots of reasons. So these volunteers were frankly getting pushed to the edge. So the idea was to look at a program like AuditPRO to be able to push this out, especially to the offsites where we look at each administrator or each owner of the program to be responsible for their physical area, because at the end of the day, they are responsible for the safety and compliance, but they don't always know all the things they're supposed to know. And AuditPRO helps guide them down the trail. So we really have an instance here where many hands make for light work. And it really did allow us to reduce the amount of commitments from a central group of people and distributed across many people, which was a more acceptable process for many, because now it's just 15 minutes. They're looking at their clinic or they're looking at their particular area that they're responsible for, or they can assign it to somebody else on their team, of which, let's face it, they live there every day and they should be conscious of these safety and compliance items. So it's really, in some respects, a double win, because the folks that are there that can make a difference are actually trained and actually performing these inspections and services. Can be weekly. It could be daily if they really wanted to do it that often. It's not necessarily typical, but to get the folks there to actually take responsibility, look at the services of the safety of the entire suite or the entire clinic is something that we've always pushed for. This helps us get there. It then allows the information to get pushed to the cloud, so it becomes transparent for others, including that those volunteers that we talked about originally, to help participate if there's questions within their specialties, such as safety or infection prevention. They can then answer those questions, or even sometimes just do a site visit specific to a need that's been identified through AuditPRO.
Yeah, no, that's very handy. In a minute here, I'm going to share my screen and show you all what Mark is talking about. But just one more comment or thought. As you're describing that, what went through my head is, if I'm a smaller organization and short-staffed, so I may not have all the square footage that you have at University of Rochester Medical Center, but I'm short-staffed, I kind of face the same problems, right? It's just me, or maybe me and one colleague, trying to get all this done. So being able to have a tool like this and engage more people within the organization, the tool makes it easy for others to help with this work. Then I can overcome my challenge of short staff with the same tool and get the same results that you all get at a larger organization. Would you agree with that? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It's really a matter of scale. But if I'm a small organization and it's just me, let's say, and I have responsibilities within facilities or safety or infection prevention, and we only have 5 buildings, okay? That's probably 4 buildings I don't have to go to, because I have hopefully a system set up with those that are living in those buildings, that are responsible for those buildings, utilizing AuditPRO and pushing that information back. I can then spend my time or my gold coins focusing on the problems or the exceptions that may come up in those areas, rather than spending time on what we would call routine work or routine compliance issues that are probably done better by others.
Yeah, good. Well, I'm going to share my screen here and show everyone what we've been talking about. So give me a moment. Okay, can you all see my screen? Mark, are you able to see it?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So what I'm showing everyone right now in this webinar is the mobile app. So AuditPRO has a mobile app that runs on any device. So Android device, Apple device, even the Windows Surface tablets. And this will allow the team and individual to go out and do these inspections, environment of care inspections, some EVS inspections, asset inspections, and so forth. And so after they go and collect this data, then you're able to automatically upload all this information onto a portal, a web-based portal where all the data is automatically aggregated. You can manage violations and you can look at reports. So you eliminate a lot of that extra work and those extra steps that Mark was describing in the process prior to them automating. So let me just show you and give you an idea. So I'm going to open up this patient care folder because, as you can see, we've got a number of inspection forms. We've got standard forms ready to go off the shelf, and we also have the ability to customize forms. In fact, Mark's team ended up customizing the standard environment of care form that we had. They used the standard form for, I believe it was about 2 years, maybe 2.5 years. And then just based on unique needs that they had in their facility, we customized it for them. Very easy to do and very simple to get them up and going on it. So I'll open up this environment of care form. And as you can see, we've got questions in life and fire safety, infection prevention, medical equipment, and so on. And so this kind of gets to the point that Mark was addressing. If you have some individuals who can get out there at their facility or help you out, join your team, and maybe they're just going with you in the same areas, or maybe they're doing a different building than you have these questions that guide you through. So for example, if I tap on infection prevention, and here are the inspection questions. Here's the checklist. So you don't have to be an infection preventionist, although in many, many cases, our clients will have someone from the IP team doing these rounds. But if they need someone else to give them some assistance, whether it's at a different location, maybe I'm out for personal time or something, you can have someone come in and take over, and they're answering and looking for the same things that you would be looking for. So it's not, hey, here's life safety, tell me what you found, or hey, here's infection prevention, tell me what you found. No, it's very prescriptive, right? So are clean linens protected from contamination? Yes, they are, and off you go. Let's say they were not, right? You hit no, so the software knows that that's a violation, even though you may not know that. And so you can capture a photo, right? So you have the ability to capture photos, you have the ability to capture multiple photos so that you can document this and then enter in notes. So it's just a matter of opening the camera on your phone or your tablet. There's my keyboard there. We snap a picture. And now it tells us that the photo has been captured, and then I can always type in some notes. And if I don't like typing on these small devices, if I'm using my phone or a tablet, then down here at the bottom left, we have a microphone so that you can use speech to text. So very simple, very easy to capture information. Again, it walks you through the process. And not only can you just take this and run with it, but we also have the ability to customize these as needed for your facilities or your organization. Okay, so that's the first step. That's how we capture information. And then when we finish capturing this information, we submit it, and then all the data gets written to the database in the cloud, and then we can access it through this web portal. So all violations will automatically populate here. All reports are real time. So as soon as you finish submitting your inspection, you'll be able to come and see the results. And here in this one particular view of the dashboard will show us all of our open violations. So if I scroll down, you can see I've got them listed in priority. I've got a description, excuse me, of the violation, where it was found. This is what we set up when we're doing our inspections. A reference back to a standard or a regulation. If pictures were taken, you'll have the ability to look at those. These pictures will also show up on all reports. And then if you did in fact take notes, you'll have them. So here you can assign these to someone, or the system can automatically assign these issues to someone to correct. So we've eliminated a lot of steps. We go through with the mobile device, we answer questions, yes or no, we take pictures, we capture notes, we hit submit. Automatically, it all populates here, eliminating a lot of steps that you would have to go through if you were doing this on paper. And then here you can assign it to someone. If I assign these to Greg, Greg receives an email with the picture, with the note, so that he can go and take corrective actions. When he does take the corrective action, then he can document it. So it's just a matter of hitting add. Here's the violation. Just indicate the date. Let's say today, for $0, we replaced the ceiling tile. Create it. Oops, I think I'm not logged in here. I was logged in earlier. I think I came off. Bear with me here. And then you'll close it out, and then it'll close. Okay. So let me do something. I think I'm going to need to refresh. I had this logged in earlier, and I think it timed me out. Sorry about that. Okay. So coming up. All right. We'll get back here to where we were, and then I'll show you. So again, it's just very easy to close these out. I come in here. I put in the date. I put in the cost. If I don't know it, I can put in 0, and then notes for the corrective action. So we trained employees in this case. We create this action plan. Then down at the very bottom, we can close it out. Once we close it out, it comes off of this list. So now I'm only managing issues that are still open. And to Mark's point earlier, if a sheet of paper gets lost or gets stuck in someone's inbox, you're not going to see that, right? You're going to lose time, or you might even miss the ability to take that corrective action. But having all your issues here on one dashboard, you're able to see them, and then you can take the necessary steps, assign them out, and get them corrected. Okay, the other thing that we can do is reporting. So over here under reporting, here's a tool that we developed, this tracer, in conjunction with Mark's team. So they had been using the tool for a while. Let me get it here. And they had gone through a joint commission survey. And one of the questions that they were asked in a particular group was, and as a group of users of AuditPRO, was, okay, in this department, what inspections did you do the last quarter? What issues were found, and what corrective actions did you take? And so they used AuditPRO to go and pull up that information, but they had to go to a couple of screens. And so after they got through that, they said, gosh, you know what, Tony, it'd be a lot better if you could pull all that information together on one screen for us. So working with them, we designed this tracer so that you can do just that. So right now, what we show is every audit that you've done. So every row here is an audit. And I should emphasize, this is our demo system. So this is no one's real data. So, here every row is an inspection, and you have the ability to filter it. So if someone wants to see data for the last quarter, you just go and plug in the dates, the from and the to. If someone wants to see data for a particular department, you just plug in the department. If you want to see it for a particular building, you just plug in the building. So it's very easy to minimize, or to filter rather, this data and get to what you want to see. And so then once you have that information, you can see not only the date and where this audit occurred, but if you needed to, you could bring up a report or a copy of that report so that you can then view it online or download it. Let me bring this guy up. There we go. And so here you can bring up the report. You can see the pictures. And then this plus sign, if you click on it, will show you the violations. And if you want to show, you can close the loop. Here's one with visible dust, pictures. You can see Greg closed it out. And if you go look at that action plan, you can see that on February 12th for $0, they created work order 567 to have the vent cleaned. And then on 2/13, work order 567 was closed out and the vent was cleaned. So very easy way to close the loop, and becomes very powerful, especially when you have regulators or surveyors coming into your facility and asking questions. And the last thing I'll show you on the report side of things, there's about 14 or so standard reports, and you can see we track everything from how many audits have been completed, open issues rather, closed issues, scores for a particular inspection, maybe average score. And then one that everyone seems to like is this top 10 report. So we can show you top 10 violations. And then again, it's all tied back to these filters. So right now I'm showing you everything in my demo system. The number one violation has 53 of them. And right here, it's this emergency communication system is not functioning properly. Well, if I wanted to see the top 10 violations from year to date, I could just simply go back and say, okay, from January 1 through today, May 4th, what are the top 10? And now you can see that it's different. So the number one has 8 of them. It's this personal fall arrest systems. And if I wanted to see them for a particular department, a particular building, or a particular type of inspection, I can do that as well. So very easy to just go in here, filter out the data, and get what you want and what you're looking for. So that's just the power of automation, right? Easy to collect the data. And then once you have it, easy to manipulate and track and so forth. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and then come on back. And so, Mark, the other thing that you all have done, so you've been using AuditPRO for your EOC rounding for a while, and then you expanded it into the asset inspections, life safety assets, like your fire doors, your fire extinguishers, and so forth. And I know that was a big challenge for you, especially out in your offsites. Can you kind of go through that? I know you have, in some cases, property managers or even third parties or your internal staff are responsible for that. Can you kind of walk us through what that looks like for you, completing those inspections?
Sure. The asset inspections come in a couple different flavors. We do have obviously skilled field people that will go out and repair fire and smoke doors and do other things. But typical in large institutions, we fix it on Tuesday and it gets whacked by a cart on Thursday and it's broken again.
Yeah.
So doing these surveys and doing what I would call an active collection of the data and pushing it up allows us to be more proactive, and everyone has got eyes on the damage that occurs in real time, especially in larger facilities, busier facilities. So the assets are obviously a very valuable part to the overall safety of the facility, whether it be a fire extinguisher missing, or so forth. But to put a constant eyes on it, and to have people with a tool that can report a violation or a problem is really very critical to us. Again, it's about having a lot of eyes out there and a lot of people reporting up things that they see that may be not right for some reason. The thing I want to bring up, Tony, and it goes back to your presentation a minute ago. there may be a lot of folks that go, my people know all this stuff. Okay. I hear this all the time. Okay. I see this all the time when I visit other facilities, and they do know this stuff. But, if one could look at all the times that the staff walk by sprinkler heads that are dusty, or exhaust grills that are, got dusty, or ceiling tiles that are missing, or ceiling tiles that are stained, it's just an incredible number of these very low, easy to fix types of violations out there. So when you are looking at AuditPRO, okay, and someone is actually documenting that the ceiling tiles are in fact in place and not stained, or the as we call them, dust bunnies, are not hanging out where they shouldn't be, it creates some accountability. And when people are checking off that box, there's a much greater likelihood that they're looking and they're going to validate that there's not dust on the sprinkler head or the exhaust grill, as we saw in your pictures a few minutes ago. That in itself is a huge value. It's such a simple thing, but it's a huge value of going through AuditPRO. The other piece of this is, and that folks need to recognize, is the value of the history. Okay. And we'll stick with dust for a minute, because in the last year, I've probably seen half dozen institutions get caught in the trap of just dust. Okay. Stuff clinging to whatever, or dust on the top of the, refrigerator in a patient care area. But having a history of the violations, or the instances that you've done your inspections and you corrected this, the one time that you may get caught by a regulator or surveyor, and you can pull up that history to say, look, stuff happens. We've done this routinely for, the last 15 months because of COVID or illness or other things. Yes, we missed the 16th month. We're sorry. May or may not get you out of trouble, but having that history does provide a lot of assurance to that surveyor regulator that, in fact, you've been very diligent in your processes. Sometimes it buys you some goodwill. That's all.
Yeah. No, that's actually a really good point that I think it's often missed or just skipped over. Is once you implement a process, whatever it is, right? Obviously, we're talking about AuditPRO, but once you implement a process and you have the ability to show a regulator or a surveyor that you have a process, and to show the results, then you show that you're actually doing the right stuff. And yeah, any of us are going to be 100% perfect, right? But to your point, you show that, yep, look, I've got something in place, and son of a gun, we did miss that one. Okay, at least they know it's not systemic. At least they know that, yeah, it was one of those one-off things because of a shortage or COVID or whatever it was. So yeah, that's a good point, Mark. Any system, any procedure that can allow you to show that history, as well as report on stuff real time, becomes invaluable when you have those visits from regulators and surveyors. One other thing that you mentioned, and you touched on it earlier and then a little bit now, that I really like, and we've been talking about it here, is being able to push inspections down to folks at the location, especially the offsites, or being able to get people who are there and living in the buildings actually accountable for that culture of safety and compliance is important, and it works. And I've seen you get real benefit out of it. I know you guys have recognized it. And one thing we should talk about that makes it nice and easy is, within the AuditPRO system, we have unlimited users. So it is a subscription, but it is a site subscription. So that's what makes it easy and makes it possible for University of Rochester to have folks at those 400 offsites, and especially those 123 Article 28 offsites, to be able to use it. It does not become cost prohibitive or financially prohibitive. It's like, hey, here's a tool, and it can yield you a lot of benefits, especially in the hands of people. That's when it yields benefits, right? When it's in the hands of folks. And so we try to enable that and let folks use that. So with that, I wanted to show you very quickly the asset module, because that is one that really, I think, helps folks manage the hundreds and thousands of assets that you will have that you could have rather in your facilities. So I'm back on the dashboard, and well, let me back up to the inspections, because it's not just the standard inspections that we have, right? So here we are. We have our asset forms. So I'm back on the mobile app. This is what, if someone was doing the inspections of your, let's say, fire extinguishers, they would open up the fire extinguisher inspection form on their phone or their tablet. And here's just a listing of some of the asset inspection forms that we have. We have more than this, but just in our demo, these are a few that we have. And so if I go to my fire extinguisher, what I'm able to do is say, okay, here's where I am. Here's the particular location where I am today. And now I'm going to go read the barcodes off of my fire extinguisher. So the bottom right, I hit the little plus sign. It opens up my camera. I don't have a barcode handy, but if I type something in here. So what it's saying is, okay, for this particular fire extinguisher with asset ID 4567, here's the standard monthly inspection form. So you just go through and answer the questions just like you do normally, and it's asking if you have the tags on, if the tags are initialed and they have the month on them, is the fire extinguisher where it should be, stuff that you would expect, right? Straight out of NFPA. It's the inspection that you're doing today on paper, many of you. And so just like before, if there is a violation or an issue, then you can capture a photo and a note. And then when you finish, you can see that, okay, here's this particular fire extinguisher. Let me just walk over to the next one now and scan that barcode. And so again, it opens up the camera, you scan that barcode, and then you do the inspection for, in this case, 789. And just like you did before, and just like you're doing now, you're doing the inspection. If you have any issues, you'll capture those. Then when you're finally finished, you can say, okay, these are the ones that I needed to inspect now. Let me submit it. And then when you submit it, again, just like before, all the data is written to the database. Any violations will automatically show up here in this screen. Well, not mixed in with EOC, but on their own panel here, so that you can just track those. And in addition, you have the ability to, at a glance, scan at the status of your assets. So here's a different view of the dashboard data that we have for our clients who subscribe to the asset module. And every row here is an asset, whether it's a fire extinguisher, fire door, exit sign, and so forth. And over here, these icons, this first row is the icon associated with the regular inspection, the monthly inspection. So I can see here that this particular one, the inspection was due 13 days ago. And then the second icon is for the certification, the annual certification. So, excuse me, at a glance, I can see, wow, I've got some things that I need to take care of here. And then there's a few that I've looked at. Now, many of you have hundreds and thousands of assets, so this big long list doesn't become too useful. So again, just like you used to filter on the reports, we can filter here. You might say, okay, I just want to look and see what's happening at my Florida clinic, in this case, in the demo example. And so here I can see that there's two that I need to go inspect. 2 fire extinguishers. My fire door has been inspected. Great. And yes, we have the ability to limit this view based on what people should see. So it makes it very easy, again, for you to make sure that you are, in fact, keeping up with all these inspections, which becomes an issue, especially when you're looking at hundreds and thousands, in many cases, thousands of these things. So if you wanted to look at your exit signs, no matter where they are, you can say, oh, here's my one exit sign and it's been inspected. If you wanted to look at your fire doors, no matter where they were across your entire system, you can see that you're current with your fire doors and your exit signs. It's just that, hey, you know what, for whatever reason, we've missed our extinguisher inspections. Okay, let's go get after those. So that's the real beauty of having tools like this. It just makes it so much easier for you to stay on top of the compliance and the safety. Okay, so I am going to stop sharing now. And with that, Mark, any last thoughts as we get ready to wrap up here? Any last thoughts on challenges that you face, what you guys are looking to do moving forward?
Well, listening to you talk, Tony, gave me a couple thoughts maybe for the Other folks that may be watching this video may have other healthcare facilities out under their broader umbrella. Some may be sitting there thinking, well, I've got preventative maintenance mechanics that check my fire doors, and I've got fire extinguishers, already in my main CMMS system, etc. And that may be true, and that may be fine, and that is fine. However, what one needs to understand is with AuditPRO, this is really about anything that you want to have inspected on a periodic basis, anything that you want to verify compliance, safety, functionality. That's the value of AuditPRO. So for an example, we've got literally over 10,000 fire doors, okay? And I do have people that fix them every single day of the year, okay? Work day of the year. But they only get to them anywhere from, once every 6 months to every year, okay? Just because of the sheer volume of them. But like I had said earlier, everybody has these fire doors that get damaged sometimes 2 days after they just got repaired. So the value of AuditPRO, especially in sites that you don't visit frequently, is the administrator or program manager. They can go through weekly, and they can look at all of the safety or functionality of their suite, of which they may pick up those fire doors. And those fire doors will get pushed out. Somebody will come fix them literally months before they would get caught on a regular preventive maintenance program. So this is really about using AuditPRO as a tool at the appropriate frequency for that specific facility. And some program managers are very diligent. They will go through weekly just to make sure that everything is fine. And you know what? You go through weekly, it could be as little as a 10-minute exercise, but at least you've got the comfort level that the facility is safe. There's no blocked exits. Nobody's walked off with your fire extinguisher, or and so forth. So every tool has a tool, a right place in the toolbox, and AuditPRO can be, or it can also be, an adjunct to your main CMMS system as well.
Yeah, that's a good point, and thank you for that one, because you all have done a really good job of pushing the tool out and getting more people using it. And I never really thought through that maintenance program aspect of it. Yeah, in a facility that's large and has a large number of assets, your regular program's only going to get to them every 6 months, once a year, as you said. But as you push it out, you really drive that ownership of the folks who are living and working, not living, but working in that building. And then they can identify things sooner, faster, outside of the normal regular inspection cycle, and get them done. So yeah, a lot of opportunities to improve the safety and compliance with a tool like this. Excellent. Well, everyone, that's it for the presentation portion. If there are any questions, Beth, we'd be happy to answer a few.
Yes. So, Mark, this question is for you. And the question is how you manage to train all of your offsite personnel on using AuditPRO.
Okay, two things. The beauty of AuditPRO is, once you get a few people trained, and it's not difficult to train them, but once they're trained and they use it for a little bit, with very little effort, they're almost super users. Okay. And in our case, what we do is we have both a program administrator over our ambulatory sites. I'm only referencing ambulatory here, although it's similar for the main facility. And then I have someone in charge of the maintenance side of the ambulatory facilities. So they are very proficient in AuditPRO. And what we've been doing is we've been simply looking at the next group. Okay. Sometimes it's by building, sometimes it's by program, pushing AuditPRO out to. Again, the training is relatively brief. If they have problems, we give them a number. They can call one of the program or ambulatory program administrators. Or the other thing we can do is we do hold monthly meetings, both to supplement any kind of training, or sometimes it's a material addition to AuditPRO. But if you want, the time and date, you log into the webinar and we talk about AuditPRO. Some of it is training, some of it is enhancements, some of it is, hey, everything's going great. Most of the time it's in part, we have these outstanding issues. This did not get fixed in 20 days like it should have. Why is that? What can we do to improve that? Did the right people not show up? And what happens is it becomes a problem-solving session as well for those users. It's very time efficient for them. I mean, they can dial in if it's only 15 minutes, 20 minutes that they need, or they get their questions answered. They can go, back to their business. But the beauty is, for an hour or two collectively, total time for a couple people to host this call-in session, we can address literally hundreds of people in the field using AuditPRO. It doesn't get any more efficient than that.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. I do not have any other questions.
Great. Well, Mark, thank you again for your time. Attendees, thank you as well for your time. And Beth, thank you for organizing this.
Our pleasure.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye now.